As we get ready to celebrate our Independence Day, it's good to remember that freedom isn't free. And those who pay the cost on a daily basis are the men and women of our armed services. We were honored this week to have been invited to spend some time with the sailors and aviators serving on the USS George Washington. There are only two ways aboard a carrier under steam, and both are an assault on the senses. It's either a helo or a cod, carrier onboard delivery. We boarded our cod, an ancient Grumman C-2 Greyhound, at the Norfolk Naval Air Station for our trip out to the USS George Washington, somewhere in the Atlantic. But hey, it could have been anywhere. Facing backwards in the windowless cabin, we had no idea where we were until we hit the deck hard. And then slammed into our seat backs as the hook caught the coveted number 3 wire. Once on board, the Navy wrapped us up in more protective gear and herded us out onto the 4.5-acre flight deck to experience some carrier ops up close and personal. So it's one thing to be on the flight deck, it's another to be up here where they're actually launching the airplanes and being right next to them as they take off and do touch and goes. It's just an unbelievable sensation of smell and of vibration and of seeing the steam, and it's just almost overwhelming in the experience. While it may have been overwhelming for us, for the Navy crews, it was an easy day. The Air Wing had already left the ship, and only 2 FA-18 Super Hornets were pounding the deck. That to test a new technology to make carrier landings easier and safer.
The 3 things we did: default glide slope, decouple the axes, and then make it to the displays, make it so the airplane's working for you, not against you.
We'll have more on that technology in a later story. But regardless of the available technology, it takes the skill of the pilot and the landing signal officer, or paddles, to make a safe landing.
Standing out here, watching his glide slope, making sure he's staying on parameters. Our main goal is to make sure he's not going to hit the ramp and get to an unsafe position.
Some of the aviators we met were also general aviation pilots, like Air Boss Mike Dano Bratley.
Having general aviation experience is huge because you've already learned to fly when you get there. You know, if you're driving a sports car, you're driving a truck, you're driving a Volkswagen Beetle, it's all kind of the same thing, right? It's just the vehicle's a little bit different. So if you learn that skill before you get into a Navy aircraft, you're going to be ahead of somebody who has not practiced that yet.
And these aviators find something very special in flying for the Navy.
I will tell you, I got into naval aviation because I wanted to fly jets off carriers. And thank God I was given an opportunity to do that. But I think you stay in because of the people. And the camaraderie in a ready room is something that's very difficult to describe. That's just people that, you know, you talk about firemen, you talk about special forces, they have kind of this cohesion as a unit. Try to think of a group of guys and gals that you live with in very close confines for 10 months at a time. They know more about you than your family does. You're giving each other a hard time all the time, but every bit of it is to make you better. It's very hard to define how great this organization is. And then let's talk about the enlisted men and women in the squadron and on the ship who are working in awful conditions for very little pay and doing extraordinary things. And you get to be really humble about the privilege of being in this environment. You know what I mean? I don't know why anybody would do anything different.
So Melissa, we had a fantastic time out there. It was fascinating to see the ship in operation and all it takes to make an aircraft carrier go. And interestingly, we got 4th of July coming up, and the George Washington was commissioned on July 4th, 1992. And so its nuclear reactors haven't been refueled in all that time.
Wow.
So next year it goes into Newport News, where it gets refueled for the first time and goes through a 4-year refit and a lot of new systems and upgrades and that sort of thing that will prepare it for another 25 years of service for the American people. So it's quite a machine.